Hi everyone, Monique here. How you going? Good to see you again. This is my last video for this week. Okay, this video is going to include our beautiful Leo moon and all of the transits that are coming along this weekend. Welcome back, subscribers. I'm going to ask you whether you like this way that I'm teaching through the transits through the week, or would you rather me stick to the Pluto topics? Because either way, there's a lot of work with the transits, bringing them to you day to day, as there is with the Pluto researchers and what have you, because they're more in depth. I do enjoy them, but I just want to help you guys, you know, and help you along with your astrology teachings and what have you, and just give you a different perspective from what I've learned over the years. All right, and welcome to the new subscribers. So please pop a comment in the comments box there, what you'd rather, whether stick to Pluto, astrology, or, you know, the weekly aspects. And I don't want to do moons. I don't want to do the moon every day. I've listened to astrologers, and I'm going to take it slowly today, because when astrologers throw degrees and times and squares and all that sort of stuff, it can get very, very confusing when you're first starting, and it's just like another language, double Dutch. So I'm going to take it slowly, but let me know in the comments box, you know, what you'd like, because I'm here for you. I'm here to share my experience to help you guys. All right, so let's go. We have a full moon in Leo. Now, to start with, all our moons are in reversal. Our new moon and our full moons are in reversal at the moment. And if you're used to working with the moon, then it can feel a little confusing. And I mean feel a little confusing. Normally we have a new moon in one sign, and then we have a full moon in the polar opposite sign of the sign that had the new moon, and that's full. Right, so that's how the months roll. But because of the dates and the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, now we're having a full moon and then the new moon. So this month, the end of January, full moon in Leo, and then in February, we have the new moon in Aquarius. So if you're a manifestor by the moon, it can be tricky, because usually we start with the new moon and our goals and desires and manifestations for that month, and then by the full moon we release that energy. Yeah, so we're talking about the full moon, and I'll give you the times of the full moon in your area. Okay, so on the 25th of January in LA, the full moon will be at 9:54 a.m. 25th of January. UK Eastern Standard Time will be 12:54. So LA 9:54, Eastern Standard Time 12:54. Then in the UK, 25th, same day, the full moon in LA will, sorry, in the UK will be at 5:54 p.m. See, even I'm getting confused telling you. And then in India, the 25th, okay, so all of those areas, 25th, the full moon in India will be at 11:24 p.m. Okay, now in Australia and New Zealand, the full moon is on the 26th of January, and the full moon in Sydney will be Sydney time, Australia, 4:54 a.m. on the 26th of January. New Zealand is 2 hours ahead of us, so that'll be 2:54 a.m. for New Zealanders. All right. Ah, well, it can be very confusing. All right. So this full moon in Leo doesn't have too many hard aspects to it, to the moon or to the sun. Okay, now 39 minutes before this full moon, wherever you are, Mars in Capricorn is going to square Chiron in Aries at 15:51 degrees. There's going to be a lot of squares this weekend. So we have the full moon, but then after the full moon, the next 24 hours after the full moon, the next 48 hours after the full moon, there's some square aspects, okay? And they can be tricky, especially if you're a Capricorn, if you're an Aries, if you're a Cancer and a Libra, right? But more so Capricorns and Aries, they're going to be the two signs that are going to be in square aspects with each other, okay? So 39 minutes after this full moon in Leo, we have Mars in Capricorn squaring Chiron in Aries. Now, before that, when the moon leaves Cancer, it immediately opposes Pluto in Aquarius when the moon goes into Leo. Okay, so the moon ingresses into Leo, bang, opposition to Pluto. Now, this is our first full moon opposition of Pluto in Capricorn, in Aquarius, okay? So we're going to start to see the activations with the other planets and Pluto in Aquarius for a few months, okay? It's going to be a hot area because once Mars, Mercury, and Venus move out of Capricorn, they're all going to conjunct Pluto as they ingress into Aquarius. And then squaring our Jupiter in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus. Okay, so lots of action happening over the next couple of months because we know that Mars is an activator. So wherever Mars is moving, it's pew, 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 activating energy because it's action, fiery, full force, like a bullet. That's Mars. Get up and go. Okay, so this is what's happening over the weekend, and I'm just going to make this one video. See, yes, we have this lovely full moon. Full moons are great for parties, okay, but because there's a lot of the squares and what have you going on this weekend, it will be interesting how it plays out. Now, on the 26th of January in Australia, that day is called, two names, Australia Day or Invasion Day. Okay, it depends on which way you see those two, or you can just take the middle path and not have an opinion about those two names for one day. So it is a party day in Australia. It's a public holiday. So having the full moon in Leo in Australia, I think that's great, right? So if you ever want to party, moon in Leo is the day to set for your party. But with all of these squares going on, we really will need to see how it plays out. Now, Mercury in Capricorn and Mars in Capricorn are also going to conjunct each other in Capricorn this weekend, right? And also this weekend, the big news, Uranus stations, ready to go direct, but it's stations. Okay, and it's going to station at 19 degrees and 6 minutes. So once Uranus stations to go direct, I mean, we know these big planets, they're like Big Mac trucks. They go out on their orbit and then they got to do a U-E, and that's why it seems like they look like they're retrograding, okay? But when they station, it's like a big truck having to stop a big truck, do a big U-E. So that means that the bigger planets, outer slower planets, they sit in those 1 degrees for a longer period of time. So if you've got planets or points at 19 degrees 6 minutes in the fixed signs, that's Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, then you're going to be having oppositions and squares with this stationary Uranus. Personally, I have Uranus squaring my natal Mars. Uranus, the awakener. Look at me, I'm into it this week. The Mars action. I also have Uranus sextiling Chiron in Pisces. And these are exact, right? So I've got one square from this Uranus and one sextile, but look, it's moving me. You guys, these guys that are watching me regularly, you know, you've seen the progress, you've seen the depth. So yeah, these energies are activating us. And at the end of the weekend, we finish with a beautiful Venus in Capricorn sextile Saturn in Pisces. But we've got a lot of square energy to get through before we get to the end of the weekend. All right, so like I said, after this full moon, I gave you the times, after the full moon, 39 minutes, no, sorry, before the full moon, 39 minutes before this full moon is exact with the times I gave you, Mars in Capricorn squares Chiron in Aries. Okay, now we've been dealing with Chiron and Aries. It was retrograde and it is actually moving forward now. All the planets will be moving forward until April, early April, March, April, when Mercury will once again be retrograding. But we're used to that, okay? So it's full steam ahead. I think this full moon in Leo, you know, that's fire, that's courage, that's strength. Use these squares of the weekend to get moving, to get activated, because Mercury is involved in the picture. So the mind, manifestation. So that was 39 minutes before the full moon, Mars in Capricorn squares Chiron in Aries. Then 3.5 hours after the full moon, the moon in Leo will square Jupiter in Taurus. So you got your square from your Leo to Taurus. So that's another fixed energies, right? We've got our cardinal signs in squares. We've got our fixed signs in squares this weekend. All right. Now, 24 hours after the full moon, Mercury in Capricorn will square Chiron in Aries. So we've just had Mars do it. Now we've got Mercury doing it. And then after that, Mercury in Capricorn squares Chiron in Aries, the Sun in Aquarius, shining a big light on the Jupiter in Taurus with a square. Okay, so that could be that financially we don't have the freedom to do what we want to do. So something will have to give way. Something will have to give way, whether it's that freedom loving or the conserving of our resources, right? Because that's what we're being awakened to, is how we use our resources as a collective as well as personally. That's what Uranus in Taurus is awakening the collective to. Uranus rules Aquarius, the collective. All right, so 24 hours after the full moon, Mercury in Capricorn squares Chiron in Aries. The Sun in Aquarius squares Jupiter in Taurus, and then Uranus stations direct, right? So frenetic energy could, like, I believe those stations are so powerful, right? You really see them at work in their stations. All right, so that's at 19 degrees, 6 minutes of Taurus is where Uranus is stationing. Okay, now 48 hours after this full moon, and this takes Australia to Sunday, Monday, you guys to Sunday, okay, in the Northern Hemisphere. So 48 hours after, Mercury conjuncts Mars, right? So with this full moon, everything that I've mentioned is in orb. So even though at the time of the full moon and the day of the full moon, there isn't, you know, too much going on, over the weekend there is. And we know with full moons, it can 48 hours till the next new moon is what can be manifested from a full moon's energy. Okay, so Mercury will conjunct Mars in Capricorn. It did this before, and it happened on the 28th of December. The two of them came together, but Mercury was retrograding, right? Then both of them, Mercury and Mars, will square the moon's nodes in Aries. All right, so this is, which way are we going? Am I looking after myself or am I looking after others? A Leo full moon, it's very much about drawing in the crowd. Not needing the crowd, just naturally drawing in the crowd. That's Leo. They're not show-offs. They just project that light and it draws in energy. Okay, so both those planets, Mercury, the mind, they're personal planets, Mars, action, they really do affect us and our choices. Finishing up this full moon energy, all of that together, finishing up with Venus sextile Saturn in Venus in Capricorn, sextile Saturn in Pisces, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. So that beautiful sextile exaltation with all that energy going on with Capricorn, with the Mercury and the Mars. Now Venus, as I said in the last video, heralds in the lot of them. Okay, and Venus will be leaving a ray of love, security, because Venus is in Capricorn, commitment, seriousness about Venus topics. All right, and in Pisces, there's a spiritual, ethereal edge to it. So I hope you've understood that. Please leave a note in the comments and let me know what you'd like me to do, because I'm just ready to share and to teach now, and you know, I love it. I love it. So I'm doing good, guys. I'm doing great. So far, so good, but we know not to speak too soon, especially when you're working through a lot of stuff. So have a great full moon. Have a great weekend to my Aussie buddies. Have a great Australia Day of Invasion Day, whatever you want to call it. Let's just all come together and be at peace. That's the main thing. All right, everybody. Love you all, and thank you so, so much for supporting me.